Welcome back, folks. MTG Joe here. Today we're going to do kind of on the fly weekly meta breakdown, and it's kind of for a cool event that they're doing. This weekend is the MTG Arena Championship. 32 players will be duking it out for 200,000 in prize pools. So this is the tournament that when you try to make it through the qualifier weekend too, this is what you're playing for, the big dollars. And then that will lead you to the World Championship potentially. Or to the Pro Tour in the future. But they're also doing a special qualifier play-in. So normally the qualifier play-ins, like it happened 2 weeks ago, to qualify for last weekend's sealed qualifier that gets you into here. But this one, they're doing a bonus play-in showcase. So instead of finishing top 1200 Mythic, if you win out at this tournament kind of thing, it's pre-constructed decks from the decks that you'll see in the Arena Championship that you could qualify and get an invite to the next month's qualifier weekend tournament. So you could kind of, if you win here for the special one of, you get invited to this next one in the middle, and then you could potentially make your way to the next Arena Championship Pro Tour series. So this format is going to be everybody's favorite Alchemy. The format itself, with the pre-constructed decks, they'll give you a number of decks to choose from. The play-in qualifier will be best of one. However, the actual tournament will be best of three. We can see the meta breakdown here, and we'll go over some of those decks. We have Esper Midrange, Domain Control, Rakdos Sack, Esper Aggro, Rakdos Midrange, Jund Revels, Mono Black Midrange, Is It Control or Zog Midrange, Abzan Life Gain, Mono Red, Selesnya, Enchantments, Control, and Domain Midrange. And they kind of go over, I'll link this page if you want to kind of get the blurb of what each deck is trying to do in a little bit more detail, but we'll jump in and see. Now, the thing is, Wizards' own site, if you follow through and go their deck page, doesn't have the actual hyperlinks for any of the cards from Alchemy, which is absolutely hilarious. So you can't hover over the cards to see what they do. You also can't import it to Arena. So the wonderful Fire Shoes on Twitter created each deck dump, so you can see what the decks are if you want to take a look and kind of go from there. But we will kind of look at each of them and go over. So the first is the Is It Control deck, and this is a deck that's looking to kind of get cards into your graveyard and take advantage of it that way. It's kind of built around Kalim Djinn Emperor. This is a very powerful card that's seen often in the Esper lists, but you can pay 2 mana to cycle and discard Djinn. When you do, you get to tap target non-land permanent. Then if you have 2, you get to conjure a copy of it to your library, 7 from the top. If you have 2 Djinns in your graveyard, you can exile them and bring the 3rd copy of Djinn to the graveyard, so from the graveyard to your battlefield. Tapped, 5/6 Flying Ward is a very powerful creature. It's also playing Tellurium Terror that gets a cost reduction, so ideally you have like a 1 mana 5/5. You have cards like Consider, Flame Blast Bolt, cheap kind of instants and sorceries, Essence Scatter, Fires of Victory, Negate, Urtai Sworn as a way to just have like a lot of counter spells. You're playing instant speed for the most part. Thirst for Discovery to put cards into your graveyard, as well as Kindred Discovery to search. So it's a deck that has some interaction in terms of stuff hitting the board, but you're really trying to play at instant speed, trying to prevent your opponent from playing stuff out like that. The next deck is whatever's left of Cabaretti Revels. This card's been nerfed, the deck's been hit. So Revels, just trying to make this large enough. There's so many ads on a goldfish. Basically, any creature you cast, you get to cascade in a way to seek for a card with mana value less. And this is a Gruul deck. So you have stuff like Tenacious Pups, Gala Greeters, Quirion Beastcaller, Racketeer Boss to give treasures. You're just playing cards off the top, just kind of a Gruul aggro list. No real combos in this one. You're using Defiler Vigor to get advantage, give yourself a big board, and then potentially go to Zeotor on the top end to throw something at your opponent. You also got some Minx and Boo, powerful Planeswalker. This thing's seeing legacy play. It's 5 mana though in Alchemy because 4 mana was too good apparently. And then you just got a couple of the Jund lands. Forsaken Crossroads can help you find the black mana if needed for Zeotor as well. So looks pretty sweet though. any deck that's throwing dragons is something probably worth checking out. The next deck we have, this is Abzan Life Gain, and it is kind of a green-white creature life gain deck. So you have Luminarch Veteran, Prosperous Innkeeper, Terra Lysara. I think Innkeeper was part of the Baldur's Gate set, so that's why it's still around. Trelasara gets bigger, Voice gets bigger. You got Adeline for tokens, Brutal Cathar's removal, King Darien for tokens, and a Lord effect. Your draw engines, the Welcoming Vampire, and you got Inquisitor Captain to find you combo, kind of find you pieces along the edge. Splashing black for Rite of Oblivion in this list. You got Elspeth, Ascend the Avernus. This one's going to be one I have to read. Return all creatures and planeswalkers with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Okay, so if your stuff dies, you kind of just get it back. So kind of a big reanimation style effect. And then some wedding announcements mixed into it as well. From there, we go to Mono Black Midrange. So it's kind of just a beefed up standard version. Shambling Ghast, as well as both Deadly Dispute, everybody's favorite cards from seasons past, are legal in this format. That should be Deadly Dispute. I don't know why. Or just weird formatting. But Shambling Ghast helps you ramp. Tenacious, Graveyard. You got City Stalker Connoisseur in there as another playable kind of way to attack your opponent's hand. Some Lilies, Sheoldred, Cut Down, and Cast Down. Cast Down's a pretty useful removal spell. It was in Baldur's Gate. Didn't see its way into Standard. But you have Infernal Grasp in there as well. Some Invoke Despairs in the top end. Meat Hook, notably Meat Hook's nerfed here in Alchemy, so you don't gain life on things dying. And then Sanguine Brushstroke, another way to kind of create a Blood Artist, take advantage of some treasure tokens mixed into there as well. From there we go to Domain Control. This is a sweet one. So we're seeing Sphinx of the Clear Skies. 5 mana, 5/5, Ward 2 flyer. When it deals combat damage, you get to kind of factor fiction based on the number of basic land types you have. And then you put, like your opponent chooses, half go in your hand, half go into the graveyard. Kalim's in this version. Fragment Reality as a 1 mana removal spell. Bind to Secrecy, counter or duplicate cards. Fires of Victory as removal. Molten Impact as removal. Painful Bond for card draw. Shadow Prophecy for card draw. Using 4 Drag to the Bottom as a sweeper. Some Fable the Mirror Breakers. Leyline Bindings as well mixed into there. Whole bunch of Tri-lands in there, the Triomes. All in all, it's a pretty sweet deck. I mean, like if a lot of people are on creature decks, this seems pretty solid. This seems pretty bad into this is a control deck just because so many of your cards are dead. But like Mono Black, Abzan, Jund Rebels, all seems reasonable choices. Then we go to Mono Red Aggro. This is my favorite deck. So we see Tiefling Outcast, very, very powerful 1-drop, conjures extra copies. So this is kind of similar to the list I got #1 Mythic with in August in Alchemy. Armed Scavenger is an interesting one. It's a 2 mana creature that at the beginning of your upkeep you draft a card from the spell book. It's got a whole bunch of equipments, and then you can play it till the end of turn, and then your equip cost costs 1 less. I prefer the 2 mana 2/1 haste Devil in the place. I prefer like just having the additional haste. You get your treasure tokens, stuff like that. Karlach is fine in these decks. It's another 2/1. Phoenix Chick's been pretty good, but this one's going Rahilda. I like the haste elements of it. This version's looking to play a little bit more, value add, but all these 2/2s just kind of get outscaled, and there seems to be a lot of removal. Ambergris is very good, but they should be playing Thundering Raiju, in my opinion. Chandra and Jaya are fine, but the curve's a little high for these, especially if you're on 4 Ambergris. All in all, there's elements of this deck that are very powerful. Like Traumatic Prank should be a 3 of at minimum, especially if you're anticipating a lot of Esper in the format. It's very good into that deck. And then any of the life gain decks as well, stuff of that nature. Even just getting Kalims and stuff out of the way. So Mono Red I think is very good. I am not a fan of this version, to be honest. So at least I'm not going to play that deck. We got Rakdos Sacrifice. So we got kind of the Anvil package that we've seen in Standard. Anvil, Voldaren Aperture, Bloodtithe Harvester. Braids is a 4, very good in this deck. This deck kind of gets a bonus of having Sanguine Brushstroke. Blood Artist effects are very powerful. Some Shieldreds mixed into there. You still see the Deadly Disputes in here. This one's probably a good call as a very powerful deck mixed in. And then we have all the Esper decks. So this is the mid-range version. So Viconia is kind of a graveyard exiling, and then you can specialize it, and it does a whole bunch of stuff. You can read the 17-page biography, but this deck, it's like, I think it can become copies or you can cast copies. I've never gone as far as reading most of these specialized cards unless they come up. Diviner Fates, probably one of the most powerful cards in Alchemy right now, especially into a Liliana meta. This deck's got a lot of just individually powerful cards, deals with all the discard and everything like that. You got Lizelle, which is just ridiculously difficult to kill and just a good body on its own, especially if you specialize it into the 3/6. Shieldred, some Kalims, Tasha, just really big roadblock on its own. Break Expectation is hand hate. You got some cut downs, combination of counters and removal. Seek New Knowledge mixed in there. Undersimplify is a counter, Void Rend. So counters, and then removal and very powerful individual threats with one of the most ridiculous planeswalkers against creature decks mixed in there as well. And then we have an Esper aggro version. So this is more built around like Raffine. You got like Sigardian, just cheaper creatures. Clement is a way to give all your creatures a buff perpetually. Angel of Unity could give stuff perpetual buffs. So a little bit lower to the ground version, leveraging like the Raffines in here. You got Elspeths, fewer removal and counter spells, but a higher creature density. And lastly, we have Selesnya Enchantments. So very similar to the standard version, Jukai, Kami, Anointed Peacekeepers, Catilda, and then just a mix. This is the Rite of Harmony version. So it's got a whole bunch of like sagas or stuff like that, and then you can hit Rite of Harmony whenever a creature comes to the battlefield or an enchantment for the turn, you draw some cards. Interestingly, this version's not as heavy on enchantments. Those are all instants, Destroy Evil's instants. You got like a Curse, Circle of Refinement, like a big thing like Teachings flips, Restoration flips. That's pretty much it. The whole point is you decide it on your upkeep, and then you cast Rite of Harmony. So when your sagas flip over, you get basically the free value. To be able to hit Rite of Harmony and play spells at the same time, you're kind of hurting yourself in terms of mana. There's also like a version that plays with Hallowed Haunting, because then you'll get the value out of Hallowed Haunting with the creature and the enchantment coming into play. So you kind of get 2-for-1 value with that. So that's pretty much it. Let me know what deck you think stands out the most, what you would potentially be taking to the tournament if you're going to play. And let me know what your thoughts are. Are you going to just boycott this because it's Alchemy? You're going to still give it a shot, see what folks in the pros are playing? Let me know in the comments. Catch you next time. Thanks for watching. Have a great one. Stay safe out there.